Over the past 6 months, I've been daily driving the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, which I think is a absolutely amazing watch. And if you haven't checked out any of my videos, I highly recommend that you do. I'll link them down below and I'll link the latest one up above. Now, I decided that it was time to move on. Initially, I had my heart set on buying the Google Pixel watch, but I guess a number of things put me off the purchase, mainly the older chip as well as the battery life. So I decided that this year I'm going to treat myself to a new smartwatch, but I'm not going to get the Pixel watch just yet. I may wait out and wait for the second variation to be released, or I might get it when the prices drop a little bit. But for the time being, I decided to treat myself anyway, and I got myself the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5. I've been daily driving this watch for a week and I kind of like it, but there are a few things which I don't like, and we're going to discuss all of these in this video. Let's start by checking out what we get inside of the box. The Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 comes packed in this very standard looking smartwatch box. It's pretty normal to see a box like that, and it's not much different than the older version. So this is the 44mm. One thing I will mention is that unfortunately it doesn't have that nice opening system that so many packages have. I do have to revert back to my unboxing knife. So inside of the box we are treated with another box. I would imagine that this is where all of the accessories are kept. Put that to the side for the time being. Let's have a look at this beautiful watch. Yeah, the watch does look stunning actually. It's minimalist and I like the design of the edges of the actual watch as well. It does look clean. The band feels really nice as well. And it doesn't weigh very much. So inside you get yet another box, as well as the paperwork. And this here is your charger in a rather difficult to open box. Yeah, there's only one way to do it. Me cringing whilst I'm recording the voiceover for this, blimey. Wow. Yeah, so it does appear to have a standard wireless charger, which is pretty cool. Now this will work with the Samsung Galaxy chargers, wireless chargers, which have the special cutout for the watch as well. Now I wanted to start off with the battery life. For the majority of the week or the past 7 days, I tested the watch with the always on display or AOD always switched off. I don't really use it. I don't think it's something that is necessary for me personally. But with that in mind, the battery lasted me pretty well. Now my day starts pretty normal. I wake up, I put my watch on charge, and then I go about doing the rest of my morning routine. Now I do take a train to work. It's about an hour's journey. That gives me a lot of testing ground, because not only do I get to test the GPS function if I decide to walk to the train station, if there aren't any e-scooters available to rent, because I live in the UK where operating your very own e-scooter on the public roads is illegal. So you can only use the rental scooters. Now I was very unlucky this week, or maybe lucky, because there weren't any available in my area, so I just walked, and I used the GPS function to track my walk because I want to share the map on Strava because I'm one of these people. But nevertheless, I did that. It's about a what was it? It's about a 20-minute walk to the train station. It's not too bad. Um, when I got to the train station, the battery practically haven't moved. I then proceeded to use the watch as you normally do. I replied to messages on there, I answered phone calls, and I went about my general life. Now, by the time my day was over and I came back home, the watch was at 63%, which is actually really good considering the busy day it's had. And I do think that that is a huge thumbs up from me in that regard. Now, towards the end of the week, I decided to switch the AOD on. Now, the first surprise I got is the fact that they've done the iPhone thing where all they do for the AOD is dim the display. They don't actually switch the brightness or switch to a alternative screen. So one of the things I really like about this watch, the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, is the fact that it has two screens. It's got a standard smartwatch screen and it also has a chronograph screen, which not only makes it better, which not only makes the watch face better to see in bright environments, but also saves a lot on the battery life. For some reason, the audio cut out here, but what I wanted to say is that for the remainder of the week, I've been using it with AOD enabled, and it hasn't made a great difference to the battery life thing. But only time will tell whether that will last and whether that was just a single scenario. But yeah, in terms of the overall battery life, I do think it is too early to judge just yet. So moving on to fitness tracking, I am a huge fan of, well, Strava. I share a lot of my activities on Strava because why not? One of the first activities I've taken this watch on is a cycle ride. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't as long as I hoped it would be, simply because the weather wasn't great. But I got a good 8 or 9 miles out of that ride, which is still pretty reasonable, I guess. Okay, so I'm now going to test it on a bike ride, see what it's like. On starting the activity, one of the first things I notice is how fast it captures the GPS, which on a TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, as well as a handful of other devices, can take a while. So I've now paused for a break and the watch has automatically paused for me, which is pretty good. It shows some pretty decent details as well. But one thing I think is missing is a nice little mini GPS map, which can be found on the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra. And the watch performed really well. Now, one thing I will say, if we compare it to the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, is that the display that the TicWatch gives you is nicer, and you also get that cool looking mini map, which I haven't seen on the Samsung. But then again, it still gives you some reasonable results. Now that brings me on to a huge disappointment, and that disappointment is the ECG and blood pressure tracking, which unfortunately is only available if you have a Samsung phone. Now, this is a Wear OS smartwatch, so you would expect that all the features would be available on a supported Android version, which on this occasion it's not, because the apps that you require, the companion apps, aren't actually available on the Play Store. Instead, they are available on the Galaxy Store, which again is a shame. Now, it's not so much that I would use this feature, but I just don't like it when manufacturers limit features like that just because you don't have a Samsung. It's just one of those, I guess. Now, moving on to sleep tracking. Sleep tracking is another feature that I use quite a lot of, and I think that the sleep tracking on this watch is pretty accurate. For starters, the interface isn't that much different to what you get on a TicWatch, and it also monitors REM sleep, which not many watches do, particularly the cheaper end of the market. But this one does have it, which I think is pretty decent. Now, one thing that this watch will also do is it will tell you if you snore. I don't snore, so I couldn't really test that, but what it does, it uses your phone and it basically records your snoring, which is a bit creepy, I guess. And when I tried this feature, it actually didn't detect any snoring whatsoever, so that's a good sign, I guess. Now moving on to the performance, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 has huge shoes to fill, particularly because the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra I used for the past 6 months was a performer. It performed really well in a wide range of environments, and I'm hoping that the same will happen to the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5. So far, in terms of performance, I am incredibly impressed. I mean, there wasn't a single time where I've experienced lack of any form or any stutters, which once again is a really good thing. The watch has been really nicely optimized. Now, one thing I have noticed is that the controls of the watch is slightly different to a traditional Wear OS smartwatch. So for instance, with the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, I press a button if I want to go to the menu. Whereas with this, I literally scroll up, which I guess is what it is, and it doesn't take that long to get used to. That's a good thing. So yeah, overall, to conclude my 1 week review, I think that the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 is a really nice watch, particularly if you are a Samsung user. Now, surprise, surprise, I became a Samsung user. I decided, because I was in the market for a new phone, I decided to get this bad boy. This is the Samsung Z Flip 4, which is actually a really nice smartwatch. And yes, there'll be a review on that coming soon as well. But this works absolutely perfect with my Samsung Galaxy Watch 5, particularly with the health apps, which are pretty good. But anyway, that's it from me in this video. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more great content. Till next time!